You know that little dance we all do? That back and forth when you're trying to nail down a time to meet?
Oh, yeah.
Whether it's like the doctor or something for work or even just grabbing coffee with a friend?
Mm-hmm. It seems so simple, but yeah, it can get surprisingly clunky sometimes.
Totally. And we do these little micro negotiations all the time, probably without even thinking much about the actual words we use.
Exactly. But, being a bit more deliberate about how we say things, it can really smooth the whole process out.
Right. And that's what we're diving into today. We actually found this really interesting source. It's a lesson from the English Learning Fast podcast on YouTube.
Okay.
Now, I know what you might be thinking, an English learning lesson, but stick with us because it actually breaks down these everyday conversation bits, the stuff we native speakers just kind of do in a brilliant way.
That's often where the gold is, isn't it? When you have to teach something basic, you really have to dissect it. You see the mechanics underneath.
Precisely. So our mission for this deep dive is pretty straightforward, but I think really useful. We're going to pull apart this lesson, grab the best phrases, the key ideas about making appointments.
Like a shortcut to scheduling success.
Exactly. Your fast track to being a scheduling ninja. Okay, let's get into it.
All right, so before we jump into the dialogue they use, there's one term that pops up right at the start. Financial advisor.
Okay.
And the lesson defines this pretty specifically. It's a person who gives suggestions or recommendations about investing money. Someone wanting you to put money in the stock market.
Ah, okay. So not necessarily like general budgeting advice or retirement planning in the broad sense.
Not in this context, no. It seems more focused on the investment side. It's just good to keep that framing in mind for this first bit of dialogue.
Got it. Financial advisor equals investment guy. Makes sense.
Okay, so let's think about that initial dialogue. It's Julianne Horton calling Fairbrook Consulting. She wants an appointment with a Miss McNeely. Well, imagine hearing it at normal speed first, just to get the gist.
Okay, so Julianne calls, gets through to the company, and pretty much gets straight to the point, right?
Yeah, it seems like a standard opening.
Her line is, yes, this is Julianne Horton, and I'm calling to arrange an appointment with Miss McNeely.
Direct, polite, tells them exactly why she's calling. No beating around the bush.
No small talk needed there. Then Fairbrook asks about her preferred day, and she suggests Thursday. Asks if Miss McNeely is free then.
Right. And this is where we hit our first set of key language, points the words around availability.
Okay.
First up is available. Simple enough. The lesson says it just means not busy or free, like having an open slot.
Makes sense. If they're available, they've got time. What's next?
Next is double check.
Yeah.
Means to check something twice, check it again. It seems small, but it's actually quite important for reliability.
Yeah, the lesson had that example, didn't it? About a project meeting.
That's the one.
Someone says, let me double check my calendar. It's that little pause, that signal that you're actually confirming, not just guessing.
Exactly. It kind of builds confidence subtly. Shows you're taking it seriously. Less chance of mix-ups later.
Yeah, it definitely helps things run smoother, especially at work. Okay, what else?
Then they're scheduled. Means, something planned or booked at that time.
Like the example, we've got a lunch scheduled this afternoon, don't we?
It points to a commitment that's already there, something you have to work around. Blocks off that time.
Right. It's not free anymore. We get booked solid. I like this one.
Yeah, it's very descriptive.
Means no free time, absolutely no available time. The example they used about someone just packed with meetings all day, you can almost feel the stress.
You really can. And it clearly says, I'm busy. But sometimes it also kind of hints that someone's in high demand,
Ooh. Makes you realize you probably need to look way in advance with some people.
Definitely underscores the need for planning and understanding that some schedules have zero wiggle room.
Okay, so we've got available, double check, scheduled, and book solid. Good foundational stuff. Now, the lesson suggested listening again, but slower this time.
Yeah, listening slower can help catch the little inflections, the natural rhythm of how people actually talk when they're doing this.
Right.
For us, it just helps reinforce how these words actually sound when used in a real scheduling conversation.
Makes sense. Okay, now for the really practical part, putting it together, the actual phrases we use. And they bring back Julianne's opening line again.
I'm calling to arrange an appointment with Mrs. McNeely.
Yeah, and like we said, it's just a great example. Direct, polite, clear purpose.
Can't go wrong with that.
Then the lesson gives another example. Two people trying to meet at a cafe, and they use, I was thinking maybe Thursday. Does that work for you?
That's a nice one. Casual, offers a suggestion, but doesn't force it, leaves it open.
Totally. And then the response, something like, Thursday could work. Do you have a specific time in mind? How about around 3 p.m.? It shows that natural step, right, from day to time.
Yeah, the progression. But what if 3 p.m. doesn't work?
Ah, yes. The example covers that too. I think I might be busy then. Would earlier in the day work? Like around 11 a.m.? That's key, isn't it? Offering an alternative.
Crucial. Instead of just, nope, can't do 3 per U0, you give another option. It keeps the ball rolling, shows you're flexible and still want to meet.
And then the other person says, 11 a.m. on Thursday should work for me. Bang! Confirmed. And then they sort out the location too, the cafe near the park. Another vital detail.
Can't forget where you're meeting.
Leads to that final confirmation. So Thursday at 11 a.m. at the cafe near the park. Yes, that's right. I'll see you there. That confirmation step is so important, but maybe overlooked sometimes.
Oh, absolutely. It avoids so much potential confusion later. It's like hitting save verbally.
Totally. The lesson then goes back to that first dialogue, Julianne's call, focusing on suggesting different days. Julianne asks, how's Thursday? And the other person comes back with, can't you do Tuesday?
Right. Showing that negotiation aspect.
Yeah, and they even acted out a little scenario. How's Monday sound?
Monday's no good. How's Tuesday?
Sorry, Tuesday's no good either. What about Wednesday?
Okay, Wednesday works.
It really shows that finding a time sometimes takes a bit of back and forth, a bit of compromise.
It does. And what's interesting is how, in that negotiation, the language stays pretty polite. There's this unspoken understanding that you might have to try a few options.
Yeah, being willing to suggest alternatives and politely turn down options is key to getting it sorted without annoying anyone.
Exactly.
Okay, so after picking apart those phrases and examples, the lesson says, listen to the original dialogue one more time.
Right, to sort of cement the understanding now that you know what to listen for, the vocabulary, the phrasing in action.
You should definitely hear it differently the third time around. Then the podcast hosts, the ones doing the English lesson, they reflect on it.
And what was their main takeaway?
Basically, that the language isn't just for formal appointments. It's super versatile. You use the same kind of phrases for work meetings, doctor's visits, coffee with friends, all sorts of everyday stuff.
That's the real value, I think.
Yeah.
These aren't obscure grammar points. They're basic communication tools you can literally use today in lots of different situations.
Definitely. Then the lesson gives another example dialogue, a longer one this time, more detailed.
Okay.
And in this one, someone starts off saying they're pretty packed and booked solid phrases we now recognize mean they're really busy.
So this one probably shows more the negotiation we were talking about, more back and forth.
Exactly. It really highlights how dynamic scheduling can be when calendars are full. They go through a few attempts to find a slot.
You hear those common phrases again, I bet, like, are you free? Or let me check my schedule.
Yep, absolutely. Essential stuff. The first suggestion, Thursday afternoon, gets shot down because the person is completely full. Back-to-back meetings all day. Ouch.
Paints a clear picture of no availability, so they have to suggest something else.
Right. I could try Friday instead. And then the other person does the same. Friday might work. Let me take a look at my schedule as well. It's that collaboration again.
That teamwork approach to finding a time. Makes sense.
They eventually land on Friday afternoon, but with a slight tweak. Someone asks, could we make it 3:30 p.m. just to be safe?
Oh, interesting. Building in a little buffer time.
Yeah. It's kind of smart, acknowledges that things might run late or schedules slip. A subtle but considerate move.
It really is. Thinking ahead about potential snags. This longer chat also covers confirming the place, let's meet at the downtown cafe, and crucially, that final check.
The double checking again. I'll double check everything the night before just in case anything changes on my end.
This is good practice, isn't it?
Totally. A quick text or email confirmation the day before can prevent someone showing up at the wrong time or place. Minimal effort, big payoff.
Avoids a lot of frustration. So after all that, there's a review section in the lesson.
Yeah, the English Pod audio review. It's basically a quick recap. They give the definition first, then the word or phrase. Like, to arrange an agreement to meet someone at a particular time.
Appointment.
Exactly. Helps lock in the main terms.
And they give examples, too.
Yep. Reinforces the meaning. For booked solid, they use hotels being full, showing it's not just for people's schedules.
Broadens the context. Nice.
They hit double check, again, maybe in an email context. Available for suggesting a meeting time. Work for you, that polite way to ask if a time is okay. And no good as a softer way to say no.
So a good final consolidation of everything.
Yeah, definitely. So if we step back,
Yeah.
what's the big takeaway here for everyone listening? I mean, we started with what looks like a simple English lesson.
And ended up with a really practical toolkit for handling appointments, didn't we?
Totally. It's a set of useful phrases, yeah, but also a better feel for the whole dynamic, the clarity, the politeness, the flexibility needed.
Finding that common ground when schedules clash.
Exactly. This wasn't about, super complex grammar. It was about functional, real-world communication, stuff you can actually use right away to make scheduling less of a hassle.
It's a shortcut to feeling a bit more on top of things every time you need to set something up.
Which makes you think, doesn't it? How much do these seemingly basic communication skills actually affect our efficiency? And maybe even our relationships, professional or personal?
That's a really interesting point to ponder. Like, what's the subtle etiquette around scheduling that we just absorb? Have you noticed things in your own interactions?
Oh, for sure. You definitely notice when someone is really vague or makes it hard to pin down a time.
Mm-hmm.
And you also really appreciate it when someone is super clear, proactive, makes it easy. Maybe suggests a couple of options right off the bat.
Yeah, reflecting on those good and bad experiences really highlights why these skills matter, even if they seem small.
There's definitely more going on in these simple exchanges than meets the eye.
Indeed. Layers to everything.
Well, I think that about wraps up this deep dive. Hopefully, exploring the surprisingly nuanced world of making appointments was useful.
So.
And who knows what other unexpected places we'll find communication insights next time. Until then, hope all your scheduling goes smoothly.